हम वंदे श्री गुरु दीन तारिणे परमानंद माधवम चैतन्य ईश्वरम जय गुरुदेव। हरे कृष्ण। ब्रह्मार्पणम ब्रह्म हविर् ब्रह्मार्पणम ब्रह्म हविर् ब्रह्मग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतम् ब्रह्मणाहुतम् ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यम्
ब्रह्मेव तेन गन्तव्यम्।
ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना।
ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना।
हरे कृष्ण। Any volunteers who would like to read the translation? Anyone available? Okay, I'll read. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Okay, we'll read the purport, then we'll discuss further. How activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and all of them will be described in the following verses. But for the present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul entangled in material contamination is sure to act in the material atmosphere, and yet he has to get out of such an environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. For example, a patient who is suffering from a disorder of the bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curd. The materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth here in the Gita. This process is generally known as yajna or activities, sacrifices simply meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. The more the activities of the material world are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. The word Brahman, Brahma, means spiritual. The Lord is spiritual, and the rays of his transcendental body are called Brahmajyoti, his spiritual effulgence. Everything that exists is situated in that Brahmajyotir. But when the Jyotir is covered by illusion, Maya, or sense gratification, it is called material. This material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor, and the results are all combined together, Brahman or absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter, dovetailed for the cause of absolute truth, regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or the Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yajna or sacrifice for the absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer or leader of the performance, and the result or ultimate gain, everything becomes one in the absolute, the supreme Brahman. That is the method of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so a lot of points here. So let's go back to the shloka. ब्रह्मर्पणम ब्रह्म हविर ब्रह्मग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतम ब्रह्मेव तेन गंतव्यम ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना. So in this particular shloka, one word has repeatedly come. Which word is that? Which word do you
Brahma.
think?
Brahma.
Yes, Brahma or Brahman. Now, this word, as I discussed before, has a lot of meanings. But essentially, what they are, um, you know, referring depends on the context. And for the most part, it refers to something which is translated here by Prabhupada as spiritual. So Brahma or Brahman means spiritual. Sometimes it may mean the supreme Lord as Brahman, who's everywhere. Sometimes it may mean the living entity or something spiritual, the spirit soul. And sometimes it may have certain other meanings. So therefore we must learn from Guru Parampara, from disciplic succession, what exactly in this context the meaning is. So here the point which is being emphasized is that for one who is absorbed in Krishna consciousness can attain the spiritual world, the spiritual kingdom. How? Because of his contribution to the spiritual activities. So Prabhupada keeps it very simple and explains it here. He says that Krishna consciousness can be used to come out of this material encagement. We are encaged. We are in a cage. What kind of cage? It is the material atmosphere. Everything here is made of matter, and when we are in this particular environment, we are only focused or forced to think about this body and things associated with the body. Our energy and focus goes into maintaining the body, maintaining people around us, making sure things are comfortable, convenient, and not just for us, but for others who are associated with us. So, all this thought process is in the material realm. Now, this is obviously necessary to take care of our body and our environment. But the same thing could either keep us engaged or can help us elevate and come out of this and be spiritually advanced. Example is given here that milk products or dairy products or food in general can be very nutritious, but sometimes overindulgence in food can give you indigestion. So, how to cure the indigestion? Now, indigestion was caused by eating. Now, indigestion can also be cured by eating. So, in Ayurveda, there are certain preparations they will make, and that can help with the healing. Here, specific example is given of how um, yogurt or curd can be used to cure that indigestion. Similarly, our activities can make us bound to this, karma bandhan or material world. But the same activities, if done in Krishna consciousness, can help us elevate. So, what are these activities called as? They are called as spiritual activities because now they are helping us to get spiritualized. And such activities are called as yagna. So, yagna generally can be thought of just fire sacrifice, but yagna is anything which is done for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. That is called as yagna. So, if one is doing activities which are spiritual, then that is yagya. The Lord is, so here it is explained here, further details of the meaning Brahman is given, that Lord is spiritual and the rays coming from the Lord's body, they are Brahma Jyotir. Sometimes you may have heard people telling that God is light or God is just basically, some people have this conception that he's energy everywhere. So, what is that? That is actually the effulgence coming out of the body of the Lord. People in general are not able to get any spiritual perception. But when they advance spiritually and when they are not having pure devotional service as their goal and they don't have clear idea, they may get some advancement and they may feel that God is light. And that kind of a realization is called as Brahman realization. And they are able to get to the level of Brahma Jyotir. But this is preliminary understanding, basic, in terms of the different levels of people who are spiritually advanced. This is the at the basic level. So for us, we can't even see Brahma Jyoti. Why? Because our eyes or our consciousness is covered by illusion to the extent that these realizations are not being revealed to us. Just like sun is there all the time, but even in the daytime, sometimes we are not able to see the sun because there may be a lot of clouds. So sun is there, but we can't see it because our vision is covered by clouds. Similarly, Brahmajyoti or God or spiritual level of spiritual understandings are there, and we can perceive them, but right now we are covered by illusory energy of the Lord, and we have to overcome it. So in future Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will tell that how overcoming this illusory energy or Maya is energy of God. Overcoming it is not possible for anyone and everyone. But those who take shelter of the Lord, they can easily pass through this. But those who don't take shelter of the Lord, they are never able to overcome this energy. So, what happens? They get trapped. How they get trapped? By senses. The senses and the mind that traps us. So, this is a method for overcoming the forces from the senses and the mind. So, this can be overcome by Krishna consciousness. So, here basically whatever activities, whatever resources, whatever uh, substances we are using in the service of the Lord, that becomes spiritual. And to the extent we are not taking advantage of using it in the service of the Lord, to that extent it will remain material, and it'll cause us to have material consciousness, or it will cause us to have spiritual consciousness depending upon what our attitude is. Okay. Here Prabhupada mentions beautifully, matter dovetailed for the cause of absolute truth regains its spiritual quality. So everything is actually meant to be offered to the Lord. And to the extent it is being done, that particular object is spiritual. But to the extent it is used for mundane material things, to that extent it's not spiritual. So, if you have any resource, any object, anything, and you are using it for the service of the Lord, that is perfect. Going forward, Prabhupada is saying here, Krishna consciousness is a process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or Supreme. So, what is this process? Converting material into spiritual. And when the mind is fully absorbed in the service of the Lord, in Krishna consciousness, that is called as samadhi or complete trance. And anything done in this consciousness is yajna or sacrifice, because now you are only conscious about how to serve the Lord. Like I had given previously this example when Prabhupada came to America, somebody asked, how do you know who is a genuine guru? There are so many bogus guru, so many people who come. How do you know? And in those days, people in America were too much into addiction, even now, but in those days, there were hippies and all sorts of other people who felt by drug addiction, we can actually get spiritual realization. These kind of things they were thinking. So Prabhupada knew the mentality and the audience whom he is talking to. So when they asked, how do we know who's a genuine guru? Prabhupada said a genuine guru is the one who is most addicted to God. So if somebody is most addicted to God, that is genuine guru. Because that's the duty of guru, to connect the jiva, the living entity, with the supreme, with God. So here, the process which this guru will use is being conscious of Lord all the time. If the person is conscious of Lord all the time, then that same tendency will actually be seen in his students, in his disciples. And whatever activities that person may be doing, person may be going out to get grocery, but because he's conscious of the Lord, he's going to come and cook it for the Lord. If that person is, going to buy some property, because he's conscious of the Lord, he's going to use that property in the service of the Lord. So that is Krishna consciousness, and that is what we saw, the example of Srila Prabhupada, who did engaged in so many activities, but they were all directed towards serving Krishna. So to the extent we see somebody is doing that, to that extent we see that person is getting purified or spiritualized. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer or leader of the performance, and the result are ultimately everything becomes spiritual. So here the comparison is with yajna. So in yajna, what do you have? You have ghee, you have samagri, you have person who is doing the yajna, you have the priest who is arranging the yajna, you have the yajna havan kund. So this is the fire sacrifice or homa or havan which it is being compared to. So all these things in other activities are also can be, it can be seen how they are corresponding. So contributor means the one who is contributing to the yajna. So that could be the, priest, the person who's doing the yajnas and all of that. So that could be you in daily activities when you are contributing something. And then the contribution or the object which you are actually doing, let's say you're giving donation to the temple or you're offering food to the Lord, so that could be the contribution. So like this, every step, every level is being compared to doing actual yajna in a fire yajna in this particular shloka. In our everyday life, whatever activities we are doing is compared in that way, that all of that actually becomes a yajna or a sacrifice to the Lord. Does it make sense?
Yes,
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Okay. So this is 24. We'll go to 25th now. Anybody has any questions before we go to 25th? Okay, we'll go to 25th. Devam eva pare yagnam
Devam eya parayagam
yogina paryupasate
yogina paryupasate
Namaste.
Namaste.
magnav pare yagnam
brahmagna
Brahmanam Pareyagnam
yagne naivopjuhvati.
yagne
Yagne
tu
Naivopajuhavtati.
Any volunteers who would like to read?
Okay. You can. Okay.
Yes, please go ahead, Mashmi Mataji.
Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Purport. As described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Krishna consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or a first class mystic. But there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in the worship of demigods, and still others who sacrifice to the Supreme Brahman or the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. So there are different kinds of sacrifices in terms of different categories. Such different categories of sacrifice by different types of performance only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is also known as Yagna. All the different varieties of sacrifice can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifice of worldly possessions and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods such as Indra, the sun god, etc. And others who are impersonalists, Prabhuji, sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. The demigods are powerful living entities appointed by the Supreme Lord for the maintenance and supervision of all material functions like the heating, watering, and lighting of the universe. Those who are interested in material benefits worship the demigods by various sacrifices according to the Vedic rituals. They are called Vavishwaravadi or believers in many gods. But others who worship the impersonal feature of absolute truth and regard the forms of the demigods as temporary sacrifice their um, individual selves in the supreme fire and thus end their individual existences by merging into the existence of the supreme. Such impersonalists sacrifice their time in philosophical speculation to understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme. In other words, the fruitive workers sacrifice their material possessions for material enjoyment, whereas the impersonalist sacrifices his material designations with a view to merging into the existence of the Supreme. For the impersonalist, the fire altar of sacrifice is the supreme Brahman, and the offering is the self being consumed by the fire of Brahman. The Krishna conscious person, like Arjuna, however, sacrifices everything for the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus all his material possessions as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed for Krishna. Thus, he is the first class yogi, but he does not lose his individual existence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for reading. Okay. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them and some other sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So here Krishna initially said that everything will become spiritual or spiritualized when we are engaged in different activities directed towards the Lord. So when Krishna says that in the previous shloka, in this shloka he explains different examples of how different individuals are engaged in different way. Let me share my screen and share this particular image. So Prabhupada explains here that there are different kind of people. They may be transcendentalists, they may be engaged in some religious work or some rituals or some transcendental activities. So the sacrifices are ultimately meant to satisfy the Lord. Again, Prabhupada here in the purport explains that yajna means what? What is yajna?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice
Sacrifice.
Yajna
sacrifice
means
meant to
sacrifice.
satisfy the Lord.
Yes, satisfy. So sacrifice means something you are actually doing as a activity. Of course, sacrifice also means this activity should be of some, you know, discomfort or some sort of a it's not supposed to be most comfortable thing, right? So you're doing it for someone else, something else, and which who's that someone? That someone is the Lord. Okay, so satisfy anything to be done for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. That is yajna. So here Prabhupada in the purport was explaining that how it can be sacrifice of worldly possessions, which means, material things, or sacrifices for transcendental knowledge. So based upon this, there are different categories. First category could be Bhav Ishwarvadi. So what is Bhav Ishwarvadi? We just read in the
They
purport, right?
worship demigods for
Yeah, so they think that Lord are many, gods are many, right? So they don't have a clear idea about God, and neither they are very inclined to learning. So they feel that demigods, God, they can be approached for material benefit, and they are all same. There can be many gods. You may have heard that Hinduism is polytheistic religion, right? Actually, the Vedic conclusion is very different. The Vedic conclusion is not this. The Vedic conclusion is that the Lord is one, actually. And all the different, there are different forms of the Lord, and then there are others who are assistants and they're demigods, they're powerful living beings who are actually assisting the Lord. So these are demigods. And people think demigods can be approached for material benefit, and even God they approach for material benefit. That is just temporary. Uh, these material benefits are just temporary. This is not really going to have a lasting eternal benefit. Sanatan Dharma means eternal. It's eternal constitutional position of the living entity to be united with the Lord. That is Sanatan. So they do sacrifices for getting material enjoyment, and they're just engaged in temporary happiness in this material world. So these are called as karmis or fruitive workers or Bahu Ishwaravadi. The next category comes impersonalist or Gyan yogis. What do? They worship the impersonal Brahman, which means they meditate or they read the Vedas, they get knowledge, Gyan, and what is the goal? They want to connect with the impersonal. Now, there these impersonalists are all different types also. There can be Brahmavadis, they can be Mayavadis, and there some of these can be within, they may be functioning within the realm of the Vedic scriptures, and some may be not functioning within the realm of Vedic scriptures. Like the Mayavadis, they are not bona fide actually. So, like this, there are different categories. So, here they do sacrifice individual identity through philosophical speculation. So, basically, if you see many of the schools, they teach that you have to um, give away you have to come out of your own identity and you give it up. That is actually not supported by the conclusive teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, because the individuality of the soul, even in the second chapter, Krishna talks Natve Vaham Jatunasham Natvam Neme Janadipa, that there was never a time when I, you, and these kings did not exist. So basically, your individuality is always eternal. You are individual living entity. What impersonal is, they think God is impersonal and I will also merge in that impersonal. Some of the impersonalists think like that. That is basically the jiva or the soul going to the Brahma Jyotir. The Brahma Jyotir is the effulgence coming out of the body of Lord Vishnu. And when they go to the level of Brahma Jyotir, actually they are out of the cycle of birth, death, disease, old age. They are in a type of liberation which is called as Sayujya Mukti or Ekatvam. So this is one category of liberation. But this is actually not really the best place. Why? Because from this level, one can fall back to the material world. Because there is no proper engagement, there is no relationship, there is no bliss and ananda to the fullest extent. So then what is better? Better is to go higher beyond this impersonal effulgence of the Lord and going, once you cross this, you can actually be in the Vaikuntha Lok or Golok Vrindavan or the place, spiritual world where the Lord will be there with you and you can actually be engaged in various kinds of different rasas, mellows, which you will relish and the Lord will relish. So that is the relationship between the devotee and the Lord. And that's the third one, Krishna conscious person or Bhakti Yoga. So the impersonalists, they are sacrificing individual identity through philosophical speculation, and their goal is to merge into the supreme in the Brahma Jyoti. While devotee, they are sacrificing everything for the satisfaction of Krishna, and they are sacrificing possessions, self, but they know that they have their individuality that is not temporary. And the idea is to do first class service of the Lord. And this Krishna will actually tell in the sixth chapter, this kind of the yogi is the highest perfect yogi. Last shloka, conclusive shloka of the sixth chapter. Krishna will highlight that. So here I was just referring to these different processes Prabhupada had explained in the purport. Is it getting clear? Anybody who has any questions, comments?
I just sent a question in the chat. So I was just going to ask what you explain this impersonalists as
Yeah.
some philosophies, like say you give up completely your individual identity. So I was thinking of what would be an example of
So
that.
what many times you will see is that they will not give you very clear cut things. They will keep things very vague. But essentially, I can give you some, easily understandable situations. Like you may have a balloon, okay? Now there is
Mm,
air within that balloon, right? And
mm,
then there is air outside the balloon.
mm.
Now, what happens when that balloon bursts?
It really is there.
It releases the air, and the air inside and air outside, what happens to them? They both
They blend.
they blend, they merge, right? They are, you can't really take them out. So they have this conception that the jiva is currently conditioned into this cage of karma bandhan. And when you get spiritually advanced, you actually merge with God and you become God. So they may not necessarily say this always, but they this is what they have their conclusive understanding. You know that you have to come out of this circle of mine and me, and you have to actually merge. So they don't have a conception of serving God. They may even be chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or they may be reading the Bhagavad Gita, but their goal is different. A devotee's goal is to serve. And impersonalists, many times they will also worship in the temple, they will worship God, but they feel like these are actually just representation of God.
Mm.
They don't understand that deities actually have personal relationship with the devotee and they will actually do so many leelas and pastimes lovingly together. Impersonalists feel we can't connect to the Supreme by directly. So, for common people, putting some structure or some gives them an idea of how one can. So, this is impersonalist. Lots and lots of people they actually have this impersonalist conception. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. And that can also be someone who is worshipping within the Krishna conscious group.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Krishna conscious means uh, Arjun asked this question. So Arjun asked this question in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Which out of these two is better? An impersonalist or one who is worshipping a personal form in the mood of Bhakti Yoga? And Krishna actually says that both impersonalist and my those who are my devotee or worshipping my personal form, they both will eventually um get to the highest uh, spiritual realization. But for the impersonalist, the path is actually very difficult and it is not recommended. The recommended path is actually directly to come to Krishna. So both aspects are there. Now in ISKCON or in Vaishnav Sampradaya, you will find those who are following uh, Bhakti Yoga. So the Sampradaya in which Tirupati temple comes or Udupi temple comes or ISKCON temples come, these are all Vaishnav Sampradayas. But then there are others who don't either have who are not bona fide, they don't have a clear concept, or they are impersonalist. Impersonalist means they have vague idea. They feel like all gods are same, or they are, just representation. They are not really God, and their final understanding is to merge. That when you advance, you read the Vedas, you read these Upanishads, and then you become God by learning all the gyan and everything and letting your self, your lower nature go away and the higher nature come, then you can actually merge. So like this, they have this particular understanding. Does it make sense? Does it
It
answer?
does, but Prabhuji, could you please elaborate a little bit about what is it exactly means by individuality here in this context? What are they trying to refer to when they say individuality?
Yeah, so like when I was saying that the air merges from inside the balloon to outside the balloon. Now, can you differentiate which air was within and which was outside?
No.
So similarly, they say after merging, there is no me.
Oh.
That's why I'm saying they keep it vague because
Okay.
it is vague.
Uh, Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure. Okay. Yes, Geeta Mataji, want to share something? I see your hands up.
No, I just wanted to ask you, but I think you already clarified that, like what do we, so like these are different types of yogis who one of them think that they are, they need to merge with God. Uh, but then another one is bhakti yoga, where you worship God as a form like Krishna, because that's like comes from love. That you can't love like a light,
Correct.
right? So you can only love, Krishna who holds a bansuri and all those beautiful, you know, uh, like Krishna's beauty. So, and all of his beautiful activities, like his pastimes and leelas. So, like when you do bhakti yoga and to get to become the eternal servitor, so what kind of services do you do? Like, I don't know what am I saying. Like when you like in Golok Vrindavan, what all services can we be of to the
Yeah.
Lord?
So Golok Vrindavan is beautiful place. There is a song in Hindi, right? What is that song? Kishore Kumar song, I think. आ चल के तुझे मैं लेके चलूं एक ऐसे गगन के तले, जहां गम भी ना हो, आंसू भी ना हो, बस प्यार ही प्यार पले. There was a famous song like that. So one person, he went to Kishore Kumar and he asked, where is that place? You said there is a place like this, where only there is love only, nothing else. No unhappiness, no distress, no miseries, nothing. So he said, well, writing the song was my job, finding this place is your job. So this person was trying to find out, where can be this place? And then he came in touch with ISKCON devotees. And then he actually learned that there is a place like this. And that place is the spiritual world. So what do people do in spiritual world? See, a lot of people know God is great. A lot of religions know. But what is God wanting to do? What does he like to do? That only the very, very, very confidential sections of the Vedic scriptures they reveal. And what is that? He loves to engage in loving interactions with his devotees. So all these pastimes or the leelas which we see when Krishna is in Vrindavan, let's say, he is playing with his cowherd boys, cowherd friends. He's engaged in so many loving relationships with his mother, with his other associates. That is just one example. God has unlimited forms. Rama the Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishthan. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is explaining that how God, Govinda Madipurusham, Tamham Bhajami. Govinda has many, many avatars. And then he starts by saying Ram Adi Murti. So Ram, Lord Ram, and many others are there. And what do these forms are basically doing? Everybody has a unique relationship with God. Like Hanumanji, he had such a relationship that he would only like to worship Lord Ram. Somebody will tell, no, 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 you worship Lord Krishna. Now Hanumanji will try, but he'll say, in my heart, I cannot think of anybody else other than Lord Ram. And then they're like, oh, this was a test for you actually. You did the right thing. Because Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, no difference. The only difference is that in what mood Lord Krishna can reciprocate is more intimate than other forms. Like, for example, Narayan. With Narayan, there is not much close intimacy one can have. But with Krishna, the cowherd boys can have so much intimacy. They can just, jump on the head of Krishna and they can, eat a laddu and say, oh, very tasty laddu, Krishna, you also have. So this is very, very deep friendship. When you're meeting a president of a country, you have to be very respectful. But if you are the family member of that president, then you are more having casual relationship with that person. So that is the beauty of worshiping Krishna, that you can actually be one of the family members now and you can be very close. So all the pastimes, all the leelas which Krishna does with his devotees, we participate in those leelas. We engage in all those pastimes. Mother Yashoda, those who like to worship God as their son, they become assistant of Mother Yashoda. And along with Mother Yashoda, they are serving Krishna. Those who want to worship Krishna as their friend, they can worship Krishna. There are so many friends of Krishna, Krishna and Balram, Madhu Mangal, Sri Dama, Subal, so many are there. And they are not thinking Krishna is God. They are thinking, अरे ये तो अपना ही लड़का है क्या है. Even when Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill, Madhumangal and these people, they were making fun. They were saying, actually, I have lifted the Govardhan. Krishna is just doing like finger, but my Brahmanical powers I have lifted. So they are just having casual talks and they are just, having fun there with Krishna. They are not thinking Krishna is some extraordinary god or anyone. So this is the kind of relationship one can have in Golok. But there are so many planets, Vaikuntha planets. There is a planet of Lord Ram. There is a planet Lord Narayan. There is a planet of Parshuram. There is a planet of even Lord Buddha. So like this, there are different planets in the spiritual world where one is engaged in loving service with the Lord, and that satisfies us the most. Actually, we are taking care of our family. We are taking care of our particular situation. Different relationships are there, but our eternal relationship is there in the spiritual world. We have our families there, and we have left all of that, and we are coming here and we are struggling. There is no birth, there is no disease, there is no old age, there is no death, there is no misery. There is only happiness. That is what is there in spiritual world. Does it give some insight to your question?
Yes, it's very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything from what we discussed so far? Okay, so I think let's just see real quick. We did 24 and 25 today. So 24th, we discussed this example of how material things can actually help us get spiritually advanced if we use those material things for spiritual process. The example was just like by eating too much, one can get indigestion if one take milk or sweets or these kind of things. But then by taking medicine preparation made of maybe the same milk products like yogurt and different other things, you can actually heal the stomach. And then in this particular shloka, we discuss that how different yogis or different personalities are doing different activities. And by these activities, this can be offered as yagya to the Lord. So it can be for material gain, which people may do who are, having lack of understanding or don't have much spiritual, interest. But those will only give you temporary benefit. But actually, if you have spiritual uh, outlook, then you can advance much more. And that spiritual aspect can be of different levels also. It can be at the level of very basic level, it can be the realization of impersonalists, and it can be a highest realization, which is of a pure devotee. Now, Arjuna, in this particular such situation, Arjuna is in dilemma. Arjuna is thinking, war is wrong. Why should I do it? Well, yes, it's wrong, but if you do it for your own satisfaction of your own senses or your pride, or if you're doing it for enjoying the kingdom, then yes, it is wrong. You're killing people for your own enjoyment. But if you are actually doing it as a matter of duty, as an offering to the Lord, if you're doing it for serving the purpose of the Lord, then it becomes a karma. So coming back to our vikarma, karma, and akarma. So vikarma means you're doing it for selfish motive, hurting others, doing things which are um, going to give you sinful reactions. All that is vikarma. And karma means pious activities. You may be doing it for somebody's benefit, selfless service, but you're not connecting it to God. So then it will give you pious reactions. But then a karma means you're actually doing good things and you're actually doing it for the service of the Lord. And even if it is, sometimes you may have to engage in things which may not appear to be good, but they are for the service of the Lord. Like Arjuna had to participate in the fight. That may not initially be thought to be great, but because it is being done for the service of the Lord and it is the duty of the Kshatriya to participate in that way, it is a karma. So zero karmic reactions. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share from these two shlokas. Anybody has any questions, comments, any points, any realizations, reflections anyone wants to bring up? Okay, so I think we don't have time for 26. We'll do 26th next week. Thank you very much, everyone. Granth Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you for your participation and nice questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.